So here's a fun little thought experiment for you. If you could build a rugby dream team, but you could only use cold, hard data, what would that team actually look like? Would it be an unstoppable force, or just a team that looks amazing on a spreadsheet? Well, today we're going to find out. We're taking the super controversial Rugby Pass Top 100 list and doing exactly that. You know how it is. Every year, these top 100 lists drop, and they're supposed to be this definitive ranking of the best talent out there. But let's be honest, what they really do is start a massive argument in every pub, every group chat, and every single comment section online. And yep, this year's Rugby Pass list was no different. This comment right here from a user named WV pretty much says it all, doesn't it? People get so passionate, so fired up, and honestly, that's what we love about the sport.
You know, it got me thinking. Instead of just getting into arguments about who should be ranked where, what if we just accepted it? What if we took these rankings as fact and used them to build a world as 15 based purely on the numbers? Could a team picked by data actually be the best in the world? Let's see. Okay, here's our game plan. We're going to build this team from the front, starting with the raw power of the engine room. Then we'll bring in the loose cannons and the decision makers, the guys who really run the show. And we'll finish it off with the finishers before we give our final verdict on this data-driven dream team. So let's get right into it. We're starting with the guys who do the dirty work, the foundation of any championship side, the tight five. And wow, right out of the gate, the data gives us an all-Springbok front row, an absolute juggernaut. You've got Ox and Che at loosehead, the highest-ranked prop on the list, who wins a penalty in almost 40% of his scrums. That's insane. Then you've got the number 4 player in the world, Malcolm Marx at hooker, who's just a turnover machine, and anchoring the whole thing, Thomas Dutoy, the most dominant tackling prop out there, just pure brute force. And look, it's not just the stats talking. When a former Springboks coach like Nick Mallett says Che's dominance is unbelievable, you know it's the real deal. When the experts and the numbers line up, you're looking at something pretty special. To finish off our engine room, we've got the locks. At number 4, it's the enforcer, Eben Etzebeth, South Africa's most kept player ever. And packing down next to him is England's Maro Itoje, who won more turnovers than any other player in Tier 1 rugby this year. So you've got this perfect mix of raw power and breakdown smarts. Okay, the foundation is set. It is rock solid. Now for the guys who fly around the park and connect the forwards and the backs, the loose cannons of the back row. And what a back row this is. I mean, seriously. At open side, you've got Pieter-Steph du Toit, a 2-time World Player of the Year. At blind side, it's Artie Savea, the man who made more carries than anyone in top-tier rugby. And then at number 8, you have Ireland's Caelan Doris, who is a statistical freak, the only player to average double digits in carries, tackles, and ruck hits. The energy from this trio would be completely off the chart. All right, we've got the muscle. Now for the brains of the operation. The guys who pull the strings, control the game, and make all the big decisions, the halfbacks. And at fly half, the data gives us the number 1 ranked player in the entire world, Sasha Feinberg-Mangamazilu. And his stats, they're just mind-boggling. The best tackle evasion rate, and the best dominant carry rate of any player in Tier 1 rugby. Think about that. He's not just a playmaker, he is a weapon. But who's his partner at scrum half? Well, the data says it has to be the player ranked number 2 in the world. And this is where things get a little bit complicated. It's Antoine Dupont, a player that pretty much everyone agrees is the best scrum half on the planet. A once-in-a-generation talent. You're not going to get any arguments there. Except for one kind of big detail. He barely played any 15-a-side rugby this year, which brings up a huge question. Can you really be the second best player in the world for a year you pretty much sat out? And the fans were totally split. You had people saying it's a joke and that he was rated on reputation, but then you had others arguing that his talent is just so immense that he's still the best regardless. It's that classic argument, right? Do you reward form over an entire year, or do you bow to pure transcendent talent? The list went with talent. All right, let's park the controversy for a minute and finish building this team. It's time for the guys with all the speed, the flair, and the skill. It's time for the finishers. And this back line is just pure box office. Let's break it down. On one wing, you've got France's Louis Biel-Beret, who tied a record for tries in the Six Nations that had stood for 100 years. Your center pairing is perfect. The defensive wall, Jordy Barrett, who didn't miss a single tackle in the Rugby Championship, next to the creative genius Sione Tuipulotu. On the other wing, the little magician, Cheslin Colby. And then at fullback, the line break king, Will Jordan. That is an absolutely lethal combination.
So there we have it. We've gone through the rankings, we've trusted the numbers, and we've assembled our team. Let's take a look at the final lineup.
Just take a moment to let that sink in. A team that wasn't built on gut feelings or chemistry, but on the individual rankings from the Rugby Pass Top 100. It is an unbelievable collection of talent. There is absolutely no denying that. And when you break it down by country, you can really see the massive influence of the world champions. South Africa makes up nearly half the team with 7 players. New Zealand is next with 3, France has 2, and then you've got 1 player each from England, Ireland, and Scotland. But how does this data team compare to what the fans actually want? Well, one commenter, Pia McD, posted their own team. And you know what? It's remarkably close. The main changes? They swapped out Itoje for another Springbok, RG Snyman, to create an all-South African tight 5, and then just shuffled the backline around a bit. It just goes to show the data and the fans aren't always that far apart. And that brings us to the ultimate question. We have our team. It is a formidable lineup of the highest-ranked players on the planet. But does a list of great players automatically make a great team? Is this really the best XV in the world? Or is it just a fantasy that works a whole lot better on paper than it ever could on the pitch? The debate, as always, is now up to you.